Dr. Elena Vasquez looked out the window of the transport ship as it approached Zephyria. The planet looked like a giant crystal ball floating in space. Blue and silver lights danced across its surface like frozen lightning. She had never seen anything so beautiful. First time seeing a crystal world? Asked Captain Morris, walking up beside her. He was the leader of their diplomatic team. Elena nodded. It's amazing. The whole planet looks alive. Wait until you meet the Zephyrians themselves, Morris said. They can read minds and move things without touching them, most advanced species in the galaxy. Elena adjusted her walking frame and smiled. I'm excited to learn about their culture. Morris looked at her device with concern. Are you sure you'll be okay down there? Their technology might interfere with your equipment. I'll be fine, Elena said firmly. I've dealt with worse. The ship landed at the Crystal Palace with a soft hum. Elena was amazed to see that the building seemed to grow from the ground like a living thing. Tall spires twisted into the sky, glowing with soft blue light. A group of Zephyrians waited for them at the entrance. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked like clear crystal. Their eyes glowed with inner light, and they moved with perfect grace. Elena could feel a strange tingling in her mind when they looked at her. Welcome, humans, said the lead Zephyrian. His voice echoed in Elena's head without using sound. I am Minister Velthin. We are honored by your visit. Captain Morris stepped forward. Thank you for welcoming us. We hope to build a strong friendship between our peoples. As the group walked through the palace, Elena noticed something strange. The Zephyrians all moved in perfect coordination, like they were dancing to music only they could hear. Their thoughts seemed to flow together like water. They share their minds, whispered Dr. Thompson, another team member. It's like they're all connected. Elena found this fascinating. On Earth, people were all different. They thought in different ways and had different abilities. Here, everyone seemed the same. The throne room was enormous, with walls that reached up into darkness. The emperor sat on a throne made of pure light. His presence filled the room like warm sunshine. Humans, the emperor's voice filled their minds. We have heard much about your species. You are unique. Elena wasn't sure if that was a compliment or not. During the welcome ceremony, Elena noticed someone sitting alone at the side of the room. It was a young Zephyrian woman who looked different from the others. Her crystal skin had small cracks that caught the light strangely, and her movements seemed less controlled than the others. Who is that? Elena asked Minister Velthin quietly. The minister's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. That is Princess Kethara, the emperor's daughter. She suffers from limitations. Elena watched the princess more carefully while others moved. In perfect harmony, Kethara seemed to struggle. Her hand shook slightly, and she kept to herself. Other Zephyrians barely looked at her. After the ceremony, Elena found herself walking in the palace gardens. The plants here were made of living crystal that sang soft melodies in the wind. She was studying a particularly beautiful flower when she heard footsteps behind her. You are the human scientist, a voice said. Elena turned to see Princess Kethara approaching. Unlike the others, she spoke with her actual voice instead of using telepathy. Yes, I'm Dr. Elena Vasquez. You must be Princess Kethara. The princess looked surprised. You know my name, of course. Why wouldn't I? Kethara's crystal skin flickered with different colors. Most visitors pretend I do not exist. Elena felt sad hearing this. That's their loss. I'd love to learn more about your world if you'd like to show me. For the first time, Kethara smiled. Really? You want to learn from me? Absolutely. I'm a xenobiologist. I study how different species live and grow. Your people are fascinating. As they walked together, Elena noticed that Kethara knew amazing things about the crystal plants and the palace's living architecture. She explained how the buildings grew and changed, and how the Zephyrians worked with their environment instead of fighting it. Your people seem to think as one mind, Elena observed. Kethara's expression grew sad. Yes, they do. But I cannot connect properly. My thoughts are too different. To broken. Elena stopped walking. Broken? Who told you that? Everyone knows it. I was born wrong. My telepathy is weak, and my body shakes. No one wants to be around someone who cannot think correctly. Elena felt angry, but not at Kethara. On Earth, we have a saying, different doesn't mean broken. Some of our greatest discoveries came from people who thought differently than others. Kethara looked confused. But how can a society work if everyone thinks differently? Very well, actually, Elena said, smiling. We all bring different strengths. I use this walking frame because my legs don't work like most people's. But that doesn't make me broken. It just makes me different. You don't see your device as a weakness? It's a tool that helps me do what I love. Without it, I couldn't have become a scientist and traveled to meet you. Kethara stared at Elena's walking frame with new interest. I never thought of it that way. May I ask what you like to do? What makes you happy? The princess's eyes lit up. I work with biocrystals. I'm trying to create new forms that could help heal people. But the Royal Council says my research is worthless because my mind doesn't work properly. That sounds incredibly important, Elena said. Healing research could help so many people. You really think so? I know so. On Earth, many of our best healers and scientists think differently than others. It gives them new perspectives. As the sun set, casting rainbow lights across the crystal garden, Elena and Kethara continued talking. Elena shared stories about Earth's diversity and how different abilities made humanity stronger. Kethara spoke about her research and her dreams of helping others. For the first time in years, Kethara felt like someone truly listened to her, and Elena realized she had found something special on this distant world, not just in the advanced technology or crystal cities, but in a kindred spirit who refused to give up on helping others. Neither of them knew that this simple conversation would change both their worlds forever. But as they watched the stars appear in the crystal-clear sky, both felt something they hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. The diplomatic mission was just beginning, but Elena had already discovered something more valuable than any trade agreement. She had found a friend who needed to know that being different was not a curse, but a gift. 3 days had passed since Elena first met Princess Kethara. Every morning after the diplomatic meetings, Elena would find the princess in her laboratory. The room was hidden deep in the palace, away from the main halls where other Zephyrians gathered. Elena, Kethara called out as the human scientist entered the lab. I want to show you something amazing. The laboratory was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. Crystal trees grew from the floor, their branches holding glowing experiments. Living biocrystals pulsed with soft light in glass containers. Strange tools floated in the air, controlled by Kethara as limited telepathy. What are you working on today? Elena asked, approaching a table covered with small crystal samples. Kethara's hands shook slightly as she picked up a blue crystal. This is my latest creation. I call it a healing crystal. It can detect illness and help repair damaged tissue. Elena examined the crystal carefully. It was warm to the touch and seemed to hum with energy. This is incredible. How does it work? When someone touches it, the crystal reads their biological patterns. If it finds something wrong, it sends healing energy to that area. Kethara demonstrated by placing the crystal near a wilted plant. Within moments, the plant's leaves turned green and healthy again. Kethara, this could revolutionize medicine across the galaxy, Elena said in amazement. Have you shown this to the Royal Council? The princess's expression grew sad. I tried. They said my work was flawed because my mind doesn't think clearly. They believe nothing good can come from someone like me. Elena felt anger rising in her chest. That's completely wrong. Some of Earth's greatest medical breakthroughs came from people who thought differently. Really? Tell me about them. Elena sat down on a crystal chair that formed from the floor. There was a scientist named Temple Grandin. She had autism, which made her think differently than most people. Because of her unique perspective, she revolutionized how we understand animal behavior and created more humane treatment systems. Kethara listened carefully. She was different, but that helped her work, exactly. And there was Alexander Graham Bell. He invented the telephone partly because he wanted to help deaf people communicate. His personal connection to the deaf community gave him insights others didn't have. On my world, being different is seen as weakness. Kethara said sadly. On Earth, We learned that diversity makes us stronger. Different perspectives solve problems that one way of thinking cannot. Elena paused. Can I tell you about my own experience? Cathara nodded eagerly. When I was young, I had an accident. That damaged my spine. For a long time, I thought my dreams of being a scientist were over. I felt broken, just like you described feeling. What changed your mind, my mentor? Dr. Sarah Chen. She told me that my experience with adaptive technology and different physical needs would give me unique insights into xenobiology. She was right. Understanding how to adapt and work with limitations helped me study how different species survive. In challenging environments, Cathara's eyes widened. Your limitation became your strength. In many ways, yes, I approach problems differently because I've had to find creative solutions my whole life. Over the next few hours, Elena and Cathara worked together on the healing crystals. Elena's knowledge of human biology combined with Cathara's crystal technology in unexpected ways. What if we could make the crystals adapt to different species? Elena suggested. Each race in the galaxy has different biological patterns. Cathara's hands moved excitedly over her tools. Yes, my different thinking patterns might actually help with this. I don't process information the same way other Zephyrians do, so I might see connections they miss. As they worked, Elena noticed something important. When Cathara got excited about her research, her hands stopped shaking. Her voice became confident and clear. The princess wasn't broken at all. She was brilliant. Cathara, have you ever considered that your mind works exactly as it should? The princess looked confused. What do you mean? Your society values perfect telepathic connection and identical thinking. But innovation requires different perspectives. Maybe you were born with exactly the mind needed for breakthrough discoveries. But I can't connect with others like they do. Can you connect with your crystals in ways others cannot? Cathara thought about this. Actually, yes. Other Zephyrians have trouble understanding biocrystal patterns because they try to force telepathic connection. I have to feel my way through the work, and somehow that gives me better results. There's your answer. Your different way of thinking isn't a disability, it's a special ability. That evening, Elena joined the diplomatic dinner in the Great Hall. Captain Mars was discussing trade agreements with Minister Velthan when Elena arrived. How are your cultural studies going, Dr. Vasquez? The minister asked. Fascinating, Elena replied. Princess Cathara has been showing me remarkable biocrystal research. Her healing technology could benefit every species in the galaxy. The minister's expression grew uncomfortable. The princess means well, but her work is not reliable. Her mental limitations make accurate research impossible. Elena felt her temper rise, but she kept her voice calm. With respect, Minister, I've examined her work closely. Her methodology is sound, and her results are extraordinary. On Earth, we've learned not to dismiss innovations based on who creates them. Several Zephyrians at the table exchanged glances. Elena could feel their telepathic whispers. Though she couldn't understand them, Captain Mars looked concerned. Dr. Vasquez, perhaps we should focus on the formal negotiations. Science is science, Captain. Good research deserves recognition regardless of its source. Later that night, Elena found Cathara sitting alone in the garden, staring at the stars. You spoke up for me at dinner, Cathara said softly. No one has ever done that before. Elena sat beside her. Your work deserves respect. You deserve respect. My father tries to protect me by keeping me hidden. He thinks it's kindness. Sometimes protection can become a prison, Elena observed. Has anyone ever asked what you want? Cathara was quiet for a long moment. I want to help people. I want my research to matter. I want someone to see me as valuable. I see you as valuable. Your mind, your heart, your innovations, all of it matters. For the first time since Elena had met her, Cathara smiled with true joy. Thank you for believing in me. As they sat together under the alien stars, both women felt something growing between them, a connection that crossed species and cultures. Elena had found someone who shared her passion for science and helping others. Cathara had found someone who saw her potential instead of her limitations. Neither realized that their friendship was already changing the minds of some Zephyrians, who had witnessed Elena's defense of the princess, small seeds of doubt about their society's treatment of different individuals were beginning to grow. Change was coming to the crystal world, one conversation at a time. 2 weeks had passed since the diplomatic mission began. Elena spent every free moment with Princess Cathara, working on healing crystals and sharing stories about their different worlds. Their friendship had grown into something deeper, a connection that transcended species and planets. Elena realized she had fallen in love, not just with Cathara's brilliant mind, but with her kind heart and gentle spirit. The princess made her laugh, challenged her thinking, and showed her wonders she never imagined possible. On this particular evening, they sat together in Cathara's private garden. The crystal flowers around them hummed soft melodies in the night air. Cathara was showing Elena her latest creation, a crystal that could purify contaminated water. This could help so many worlds, Elena said, watching the crystal turn muddy water crystal clear. Cathara, you're going to change the galaxy. The princess blushed, her crystal skin shifting to soft pink hues. Only because you helped me believe in myself. Elena took a deep breath. Her heart was beating fast. Cathara, I need to ask you something important. Of course. What is it? Elena reached out and gently took Cathara's trembling hands in her own. These past weeks with you have been the happiest of my life. You're brilliant, kind, and beautiful. I know we're from different worlds, different species, but Cathara's eyes widened. Will you be with me? Elena asked. Not as some political alliance or diplomatic arrangement. I mean truly be with me, as partners who care for each other. Cathara stared at Elena in shock. You want to be with me, even though I'm broken? You're not broken, Elena said firmly. You're perfect exactly as you are. I love your mind, your heart, and yes, I love you. Tears began to flow down Cathara's face, creating tiny rainbows on her crystal cheeks. No one has ever said they love me before. Then they were all fools. Will you consider it? Being with me. Cathara threw her arms round Elena. Yes, yes, I will be with you. Their embrace was interrupted by a gasp. They turned to see Minister Velthan standing at the garden entrance, his crystal face dark with anger. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. Elena and Cathara stood up, still holding hands. Minister Velthan, Elena said calmly, Princess, Cathara and I have decided to become partners. This is outrageous. Velthan's voice echoed with telepathic fury. A human dares to court our princess? This is an insult to the entire Zephyrian Empire. It's not an insult, Cathara said, her voice shaking but determined. It's my choice. You are not capable of making such choices. Velthan snapped. Your damaged mind cannot understand the consequences. Elena stepped forward angrily. Don't you dare speak to her like that. Cathara is more capable than anyone in your council. How dare you? Velthan's telepathic energy lashed out, but Elena stood her ground within minutes. Word of Elena's proposal spread throughout the palace through the Zephyrian telepathic network. The reaction was explosive. Captain Mars burst into Elena's quarters. An hour later, his face red with anger. Elena, what have you done? The entire diplomatic mission is falling apart. I asked someone I care about to be with me. Elena replied calmly. You asked to court an alien princess. The Zephyrians are calling it an insult to their royal bloodline. Dr. Thompson was with Morris. Wringing his hands nervously, the Emperor is furious. He's threatening to end all negotiations with Earth because his daughter found someone who loves her. Elena asked, because you're human. Morris shouted. They see us as inferior. This makes everything worse. Elena felt her anger rising. So I should abandon someone I love because of species prejudice? Yes, Morris said. That's exactly what you should do. Think about Earth's future. But Elena's honest declaration of love had already begun spreading through Zephyrian society, in ways no one expected. While the royal court was outraged, many ordinary Zephyrians found themselves thinking about the humans' words. In the crystal cities below the palace, Zephyrians began talking about Princess Cathara for the first time in years. Some remembered her kindness as a child. Others recalled brilliant questions she had asked before she was silenced. A young Zephyrian named Terwin, who had always struggled with telepathic control, spoke up in his workplace. If the human can see value in someone different, maybe we've been wrong about the princess, an elderly Zephyrian named Shalara, who had hidden her own mental differences for decades, found courage to share her struggles with her family, but the royal court remained furious. Emergency council meetings were called. Minister Velthan demanded Elena be expelled from the planet immediately. The emperor sat on his throne of light, his expression unreadable. Princess Kethara knelt before him, trembling but determined. "Father, I love her," Kethara said. "For the first time in my life, someone sees me as worthy. Please don't take that away. You are my daughter," the emperor said slowly. "But you are also my responsibility. This human has filled your head with dangerous ideas. The idea that I have value, that my work matters, these aren't dangerous. Father, they're hope." Minister Velthan stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we must act quickly. Other species are watching. If we allow this insult to stand, they will see us as weak, or they'll see us as wise," Kethara said quietly. The emperor's eyes flashed. "Enough. I will not have my daughter's reputation destroyed by this foolishness. The human will leave immediately, and we will never speak of this again." That night, as Elena packed her belongings, Kethara appeared at her door. "I won't let them send you away," the princess said. "Kethara, I don't want to cause a war between our peoples." "Then let's give them something else to think about." Before Elena could ask what she meant, alarms began ringing throughout the palace. Emergency lights flashed in the crystal corridors. Minister Velthan's voice echoed through the telepathic network. "We are under attack. Enemy ships have breached our outer defenses." The Skarn Empire, ancient enemies of the Zephyrians, had chosen this moment of internal conflict to launch a surprise assault. Their ships, black as space itself, descended on the crystal cities like a plague of metal locusts. Elena and Kethara ran to the palace's main observatory. Through the crystal walls, they could see explosions lighting up the night sky. "They're targeting our telepathic communication centers," Kethara said, her face pale with fear. "Why now?" Elena asked. "They've been waiting for us to be divided." Kethara realized our internal conflict gave them the perfect opportunity. As enemy fire rained down on the crystal world, Elena and Kethara realized that their love story had become something much larger. The question was no longer whether they could be together, but whether their worlds would survive long enough to find out. The real test was just beginning. The Skarn attack ships filled the sky like angry storm clouds. Their dark metal hulls absorbed the crystal world's light, making everything dim and cold. Explosions echoed across the planet as Zephyrian defenses struggled to respond. Elena and Kethara stood in the palace's war room, watching screens that showed the battle raging overhead. The emperor paced back and forth, his crystal form flickering with stress. Ministers shouted orders through their telepathic network. "Our mind shields are failing," Minister Velthan reported. "The Skarn are using some kind of mental disruption technology. We can't coordinate our defenses." The emperor's face was grim. "How is this possible? Our telepathic abilities have always protected us." Captain Mars stood with the other human diplomats, looking helpless. "Your Majesty, Earth's fleet is 3 days away. We can't provide military support in time." 3 days? The emperor said. "We'll be conquered in 3 hours at this rate." Elena watched the screen showing Skarn ships destroying Zephyrian crystal towers. Each tower that fell weakened the planet's telepathic network further. She noticed something strange about the enemy's attack pattern. "Kethara," Elena whispered, "look at how they're targeting the communication centers. They're not just trying to win, they're trying to cut off all telepathic connection." Kethara studied the screens. "You're right. If they destroy the network completely, Zephyrians won't be able to function as a society. But that means they understand your telepathic technology better than anyone thought." Suddenly, Princess Kethara's eyes widened. "Elena, I think I know what's happening. The Skarn must have captured Zephyrian technology and learned to reverse it. Instead of connecting minds, they're separating them." Elena felt excitement building. "Can your healing crystals detect that kind of mental disruption?" "Maybe, but I'd need to modify them completely." and I'd need help understanding human brain patterns to create something that works for both species. Elena grabbed Kethar's hands. Then let's do it, right now. Do what? Minister Velthan had overheard them. Create a defense against the Skarn's mental disruption. Elena said, Princess Kethar's research might be our only hope. Velthan looked angry. We cannot trust the princess's flawed work during a crisis. Her work isn't flawed, Elena snapped. You've been too prejudiced to see her brilliance. The Emperor stepped forward. What exactly are you proposing? Kethar spoke up, her voice stronger than Elena had ever heard it. Father, I can create crystals that protect minds from disruption. But I need Elena's help to make them work for humans too. If our peoples fight together, we might have a chance. This is madness, Velthan protested. We should be evacuating the princess, not involving her in dangerous experiments. Another explosion shook the palace through the windows. They could see Skarn fighters diving toward the capital city. We're out of time. The Emperor said grimly, Princess, if you believe this can work, you have my permission to try. Elena and Kethar raced to the princess's laboratory. Behind them, the sounds of battle grew louder. The palace itself was starting to take damage from the enemy assault. I need to understand exactly how human minds process information, Kethara said, pulling out her biocrystal equipment. Can you interface with my detection crystal? Elena placed her hand on the glowing crystal. Immediately, she felt a strange tingling sensation as it scanned her thoughts. Fascinating. Kethar murmured, studying the readings. Human minds work completely differently than Zephyrian minds. You process information in multiple pathways instead of one unified stream. Is that bad? Elena asked. No, it's perfect. The Skarn disruption technology is designed to break single-stream telepathy, but human multipathway thinking might be naturally resistant. Working together, they began modifying Kethara as healing crystals. Elena's knowledge of human neurology combined with Kethara as crystal technology in ways neither had imagined. What if we create crystals that mimic human brain patterns? Elena suggested. They could shield Zephyrian minds by giving them multiple thought pathways. Yes? Kethara's hands moved quickly over her tools, no longer shaking despite the crisis. And if we add human adaptive technology principles? Elena grabbed her walking frame and detached one of its computer components. Use this processor. It's designed to adapt to changing conditions. Kethara integrated the human technology with her biocrystals. The result was unlike anything either species had created before, a hybrid device that combines Zephyrian mental abilities with human adaptability. It's working, Kethar exclaimed as the first prototype glowed with stable energy. The crystal is creating protected thought spaces. They quickly created more crystals and ran to the war room outside. Skarn ships were beginning to land, preparing for ground assault. Your Majesty, Elena called out, we have something that might work. She handed protection crystals to the Emperor and his ministers. These should shield your minds from the Skarn disruption. Velthan looked skeptical. How can we trust devices created by? His words were cut off as a powerful mental blast from the enemy ships hit the palace. Every Zephyrian in the room cried out in pain and collapsed, except those holding the crystals. The Emperor stood up slowly, amazement on his face. The crystal, it protected me completely. The disruption had no effect, Minister Velthan whispered, staring at his crystal in wonder. Elena smiled. Human thinking patterns provided the key. Kethara's genius made it work. Working together, humans and Zephyrians quickly distributed the protection crystals throughout the planet. Elena's diplomatic team coordinated with Zephyrian forces to deploy the devices. Captain Mars, wearing his own crystal, spoke into his communicator. All human ships, prepare for joint operations with Zephyrian forces. With their minds protected, the Zephyrians could once again coordinate their defenses. But now they fought alongside humans, combining their telepathic abilities with human tactical flexibility. The battle turned quickly, Skarn ships, expecting confused and separated enemies, instead faced unified resistance from two species working in perfect harmony. Elena and Kethara stood together in the command center. watching their combined technology defeat the enemy fleet human ships used Zephyrian navigation crystals to move with impossible grace. Zephyrian defenders used human adaptive strategies to outthink their attackers. Look at them fight together, Cathara said with wonder. Our differences make us stronger. Elena squeezed her hand. Just like us, the Emperor approached them. His expression completely changed. Princess, your work has saved our world. And Dr. Vasquez, your insights made victory possible. We did it together, Elena said. That's what makes it work. As the last Scarn ships retreated into space, cheers echoed throughout the crystal cities. But more than celebrating victory, people were celebrating something new, the discovery that different minds working together could achieve the impossible. The crisis had proven that what others saw as weakness was actually strength, and love had been the catalyst that made it all possible. 3 months had passed since the Scarn attack. The crystal world of Zephyria looked different now. Human and Zephyrian scientists worked together in new laboratories built from both metal and living crystal. Ships from dozens of worlds filled the sky, all coming to learn about the revolutionary technology that had saved the planet. Elena stood in the palace's new research center, watching Cathara teach a group of young Zephyrians and humans about biocrystal healing. The princess's hands no longer shook when she worked. Her voice was confident and clear. She had become the galaxy's leading expert on hybrid technology. The key is understanding that different minds see different solutions, Cathara explained. To her students, what seems impossible to one species might be simple to another. One young Zephyrian raised her hand. Princess, what if our telepathy is weak like yours was? Cathara smiled warmly. Then you might discover something amazing that stronger telepaths cannot see. My limited abilities led to breakthroughs that saved our world. Elena felt proud watching Cathara inspire others. The princess had become a symbol of hope for beings throughout the galaxy who felt different. Emperor Zarthan entered the research center, moving slowly but with dignity. The battle had aged him, but it had also made him wiser. He approached Elena and Cathara with something in his hands. Father, Cathara said. Bowing respectfully, my daughter, I come to ask your forgiveness, the Emperor said. For years, I treated your differences as weakness. I was wrong. Cathara's eyes filled with tears. You were trying to protect me. I was trying to hide you, he corrected. I was ashamed of what I didn't understand. But Elena helped me see the truth. You were never broken. You were exactly what our world needed. He held out a crystal crown, beautiful and glowing with inner light. This is the crown of innovation, created by our greatest artisans. It has never been given to anyone before. You are the first to earn it. As he placed the crown on Cathara's head, the entire research center erupted in applause. Scientists from a dozen worlds cheered for the princess who had changed everything. And Elena, the Emperor continued, turning to the human scientist. You showed us that love sees truth where prejudice sees only lies. Will you accept the title of Honorary Crystal Singer? It means you are family to all Zephyrians. Elena felt overwhelmed. Your Majesty, I am honored. Captain Mars approached them, carrying official documents from Earth. Dr. Vasquez, I have news from home. The Human Council has approved the establishment of the Elena Cathara Institute for cross-species innovation. You'll be the director. What? Elena gasped. Your work here has inspired countless breakthroughs. Universities across human space want to study your methods. You've shown us that our future lies in cooperation, not competition. Minister Velthin, who had once opposed Elena so strongly, stepped forward. Dr. Vasquez, I owe you an apology. My prejudice nearly cost us everything. Will you teach us more about human perspectives? Elena nodded graciously. Of course, Minister. We all have much to learn from each other. The ceremony that evening was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in the Crystal Palace's Great Hall. The room itself had been redesigned to accommodate many different species, some who breathed air, others who lived in water, and some who existed as pure energy. Princess Cathara and Elena stood together before the assembled crowd. They wore matching outfits that combined human and Zephyrian styles. Symbolizing their unity across differences, the Emperor stood to address the gathering. Today we celebrate not just a union between two individuals, but a new age of understanding between all species. As he spoke, Eleanor remembered the first day she had met Cathar in the garden, the lonely princess who believed she was broken. Now that same person stood before the galaxy as a beacon of hope and innovation. Eleanor and Cathar have shown us that love transcends all boundaries. The Emperor continued, they have proven that our differences are not obstacles to overcome, but gifts to celebrate. The bonding ceremony was beautiful. Instead of traditional human wedding rings, they exchanged biocrystals that Cathar had created. The crystals would glow whenever they were near each other, a symbol of their eternal connection. I promise to always see your strengths, Eleanor said, placing the crystal around Cathara's neck. I promise to never stop believing in what we can accomplish together, Cathar replied. Doing the same for Eleanor. As they kissed, the crystals began to glow with brilliant light. The entire hall erupted in celebration, not just from Zephyrians and humans, but from beings across the galaxy who had been inspired by their story. After the ceremony, Eleanor and Cathar walked together through the palace gardens where they had first become friends. The crystal flowers sang harmonies that seemed to celebrate their joy. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't asked that simple question? Cathar mused. What question? Will you be with me? 3 little words that changed everything. Eleanor smiled. I think the universe was waiting for someone to ask. It just happened to be me. They paused at a new statue that had been erected in the garden. It showed a human and a Zephyrian working together, their different abilities combining to create something beautiful. Look. Cathar pointed to the inscription at the base. It's perfect. Eleanor read the words aloud. Strength comes not from being the same, but from choosing to stand together despite our differences. That's going to be the motto for our new institute, Eleanor said. We'll teach beings from across the galaxy that diversity is the key to progress. 6 months later, the Eleanor Cathar Institute opened its doors. Students from hundreds of worlds came to learn about cooperation between different species. The healing crystals had revolutionized medicine galaxy-wide. The mental protection technology had ended several conflicts by allowing better communication between former enemies. But more importantly, the Institute had become a place where beings who felt different or left out could find acceptance and purpose. Young Zephyrians with weak telepathy worked alongside humans with disabilities. Species that had never communicated before discovered common ground. Eleanor often stood in her office, looking out at students from dozens of worlds working together in the courtyard below. Each one was different abilities, different ways of thinking, different dreams, but together they were changing the galaxy. Cathar would join her there, and they would watch their students discover what they had learned. That love, acceptance, and cooperation could overcome any obstacle. The question, will you be with me, had become something much larger. It had become, will we build a better future together? And across the galaxy, more and more beings were answering yes. Their love story had become the galaxy's love story, a tale of finding strength in difference, and hope and acceptance. And it all began with one human who saw value where others saw weakness, and dared to ask a simple question that changed everything.